All right, so here we have a chart. Now I want to
Sorry, I just have a question.
yes, sure.
Will you tell us whose chart it is at the end?
Yeah, but only at the end, yeah. Because I want you to get the astrology first without being influenced by the life of the person. Okay, because it's a really famous person. So it's a woman, so I put that up there because it's also helpful to know, is this a male or a female? Because you'll look at that chart differently accordingly. And by the way, that still applies even if the person has had sex change operations. So I've had clients also who are trans, and their chart reads as a man. And then you think, wait, this is a woman, but it doesn't read right. And then when you find out, no, they are actually trans, then so you can still trust your instincts. We'll speak a lot with Roisin about that, trusting the instincts. So here we have, again, a lot of Scorpio. So that Scorpio energy, give me just throw out a bunch of words or write them in the chat about all of those aspects of Scorpio that should catch our attention in terms of let's say, what's challenging to this person. So we find, first of all, we have an ascendant in Gemini. And just I'll point out the blindingly obvious, the ascendant is in the sixth house. So really important, the ascendant ruler rather, really important. And that partly answered the question about that Venus in square to the nodes earlier that Elsa was asking. And so we have that on the south node. So let's just start with all the Scorpio and then we'll get to that. So just throw out a bunch of words. What is the thing about
father wounded the person?
Sorry, just let's go with Scorpio. Just for the moment, just what the deal is with Scorpio that we want to kind of keep in mind when we're looking at the chart. What's the scorpionic stuff?
The work is sort of psychological and
Yeah, whoa. Just Scorpio. We're abstracted. We're going back to cookie cutter astrology. We're just looking at Scorpio. What are all the challenges that are associated with Scorpio, or all the things that we should think about when we're looking at Scorpio? And then we'll go to the houses and all that other stuff.
So there's
difficulty communicating.
I've got secretive. I've got secretive medicine, loss. Not so sure about the loss part. Maybe you can explain that. Sex, for sure, driven. Crisis, transformation. Grudge, revenge. Paranoia. Money. Taboo. Intense person. Yeah, so we can say that intensity. Intense emotion. Sexual healer. Whoa. We're not pulling in the sixth house yet, so let's leave that for a second. Just Scorpio. Mistrusting. Yeah. Unconscious impulses, digs deep, needs to be in power, difficult communication. Anything else about Scorpio? Cutting, severing, deeply emotional. So we've got all those different things to keep in mind. Loyal, for sure. Loyal. Right, okay, so I think I've got them all. One new, what's coming up? Truth seeking, for sure. If we're seeking the truth, why are we seeking the truth?
Because we think people are lying to us.
Right. We're seeking the thing that we don't think is there, right? So if it's not there, we're looking for it. So if Scorpio is a truth seeker, it's because they don't really swim in the waters of truth. To see how that works? So this is the thing to know. There's a reason behind all these things. Insight for sure, doesn't quit for sure. Mars rules is willing to fight. Yep. Detective for sure. Yeah, very good. Excellent. All right, so you get the picture. This is the energy of Scorpio that is there in now the sixth house. So we add to all of those aspects. Now just throw out a bunch of ideas around the sixth house, whether it's in the chat or open mic, whatever you like. Again, keeping in mind that the ruler of the ascendant is there. So sixth house stuff. Duty, daily routines, obligations, duty, serving others, health, challenges, hard work, hardworking around communication, pets, they love this, pets, schedule, work, intellectual, enemies, pets. Somebody's really into the pets, sex, trauma, healing, all together. Keep going. Sixth house, sixth house. We could say sixth house overall, one word, if you just want that one word. Yeah, obsessive, responsible, very good. Responsibility. It's obstacles. So if you think obstacles in just the most general way, what's an obstacle? Well, taxes. What's an obstacle? Well, work. What's an obstacle? Well, I'm ill. What's an obstacle? Well, I've got this thing I have to do all the time. So obstacles. And then you try and look into the nature of the obstacles. And yes, sixth house is digestive system, but we're looking at this in the generalized sense of what could this be with reference to the individual. So yeah, if you're having a private consultation, you might look at that and say perhaps there's some issues there. Employees, perfectionist, service, sacrifice, service, sickness, service oriented, excellent. All right, now we've got the ruler of the ascendant in the sixth house. Now give me some idea. Here, ruler of the ascendant is Mercury in Scorpio. So tell me some words that would associate those things now to describe this ascendant. Poor health. Mary, I think you mean private. Yeah, there we go. Keep themselves private. Obstacles with siblings. Self-sacrificing. Mental issue.
I'm not exactly sure how to put it in writing, but with
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Gemini, that's obviously a very sort of, I guess, talkative sign, but with Mercury and Scorpio, is there maybe a trouble linking thoughts and words? And
Very, very true. They define themselves by their work. For Mary, works in the field of communication, communicates loudly. Their difficulties can be as well. But what you're saying, absolutely, Elsa, is this that for sure is true.
I mean,
Psychic,
my Mercury is in Scorpio, and that's something I struggle with,
right.
sort of putting
So
thoughts into words.
yeah, that's very interesting that you say that, and you can maybe give us some more ideas as we go too to understand that better. Psychic, maybe that's open to interpretation because we're looking at a number of different factors for somebody to be psychic. So it's not that Mercury's in Scorpio, that means the person is psychic, okay? Maybe, it's not a no, just a maybe. Right, and now, who's ruling all this stuff? So we got the ruler of the ascendant in the sixth house, Scorpio. Who's ruling Scorpio? Who's ruling the ruler of the ascendant? Mars, Mars. There we go, so Mars. Look at that, Mars is with Pluto, and it's on the icy, and it's with Saturn. And what's Saturn doing?
Retrograde?
No.
It's
In this software, the retrogrades are red. So we see Uranus, for example, in red. So retrogrades show up as red. Other softwares put a little R next to degrees.
It's in detriment in Leo.
It's heavily in detriment, and
Squaring the nodes.
Squaring the
And-
node.
and
Squaring Mercury and the node.
right.
The
And what
nodes.
is Mercury?
Retrograde.
And what is Mercury?
The chart ruler.
The chart. Well, we have to say ascendant ruler technically.
And the
So
ruler, sorry.
we try, and we all make the mistake, but it's just, as a teacher, I feel it incumbent on me to tell you it. We should be saying ascendant ruler. So here we have Saturn, not in good dignity, and in the house of communication, and it's squaring the planet of communication, which itself is retrograde on the south node and ruled by a very tetchy Mars, Pluto. Right? So here, because if we, again, for those of you who like the modern astrology, we can even say, Pluto is a co-ruler with Mars. I still will stick to the Mars, but definitely because Pluto is playing a huge role here, we have something to look at. So let's have a look at let's only do Mars in the third house, then we'll look at Mars Leo. Okay, what is Mars in the third house?
Feisty communicator.
Feisty is a good word, yeah.
Problems with siblings.
Problems with siblings. So here also, somebody said not able to speak, obstacles with community or uncles. Oh, Mother Superior, I'm not sure where that comes from. Maybe we're going back. Squaring Mercury, constricting, inhibiting communication, yeah, restricting, struggles with siblings. Okay, so let's keep going. So this person is controversial around communication. Excellent way of describing that. So Mars, again, Mars third house, anything else?
Combative with siblings,
And
communication.
yeah,
Yeah.
combative is a great word,
Especially
right?
with conjunct with Pluto there.
Especially, and that would be what?
A family dynamic.
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Very,
So
very defensive. Also, maybe
defensive,
I think with the Leo Saturn combination.
absolutely. And what does Leo represent? So for a moment, we're just going to leave the sun out of the picture, but Leo in general, what does Leo represent?
The ego.
Pride.
Sorry,
Pride.
pride.
Um,
I heard something else, but they got
Ego.
blended. Ego, pride,
creativity.
creativity. And David, I heard something, but I didn't hear what.
I said pride.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Self-importance.
Self-importance, spotlight,
child energy. Right.
limelight, spotlight. Leo can be childlike as well. But Leo has this quality. What is that quality that is
Leadership.
the leadership?
Mhm.
So how would this person engage in some kind of leadership quality?
Power
In a
dynamic.
disruptive manner. Communicating in a controversial.
Controversial, potentially destructive. Somebody's written deceptive. Well done. This is very, now we're getting there. Do you get it? Now we're getting there. This is a no holds barred kind of dynamic, isn't it? Now that is ruling, Mars is ruling that sun, and the sun is ruling that Mars. So remember what we talked about when these planets are in in their own places, in each other's places rather. This is not a direct square, so it's a little bit, it's a bit too wide a margin traditionally for a square, but it's squaring by sign. So this would be a mutual generosity of some kind that's still really significant. But all of that is also showing up in a square to this planet, to
Venus.
Venus, right? So all that we've seen here, the ruler of the ascendant, all of this that is challenging in terms of communication, connection, in terms of the everyday, is also showing up through a square that Venus is squaring the IC, and so squaring the MC-IC axis, squaring Pluto and Mars, and also on the other side, squaring Saturn. And that's a Venus there in a masculine sign. So again, now we have an actual mutual reception between Venus and Mars. Oh, no, we don't. No, sorry, I'm getting it wrong because it's not the sun. Now we have Venus in a square to Pluto, Mars, as well as the IC and Saturn, squaring to all of that stuff, which also represents what? What is the Leo symbol? The notion of what Leo represents.
Lion.
The lion and?
The sun. Well,
Yes,
no,
yes. That's the ruler of Leo.
king,
The king, the
Yeah.
king. So we could say the most important person, the leader, the ruler, the man also. So it is usually with reference to males, right? Leo is a masculine sign. It's ruled by the sun. It's masculine. So men, we can, as a shorthand. That's one way of saying this, this notion. Keep in mind, this is a female. This is a female chart. Now, Venus herself is in this masculine sign. So we know that Venus is in her what?
detriment.
in detriment, because normally she would be ruling Taurus, right? So she is ruling she's in a rulership of a north node in Taurus from a place of detriment, from a place where there's some kind of struggle, what we could even describe as anger, fury, feeling a chip on her shoulder, feeling inadequate about self, about identity, for example. Now, this Saturn is, as we saw, it's squaring the chart ruler, which is huge, and it's squaring the nodal axis. Who wants to have a stab at what this will require or what this could represent? We can start, if you want, you could start with the Mercury on the south node, and we can go then to the square, or you can start with the square and go in the Mercury south node direction.
Mercury South Node Scorpio, maybe letting go of the secrets, not willing to keep them anymore.
Maybe I would say that would be the evolved version.
Gossip.
So remember, gossip is a good one. Remember that where we begin from is usually the problematic point, right? We don't usually begin with the easiest bits, and then by the time we're 80, we get to the problems. It tends to be the other way around. So this is baked into her natal chart. So Mercury on the south node in Scorpio, ruling the chart. Sorry, ruling the ascendant. Squared by.
Yeah, I would say very talking out of turn, perhaps letting secrets out, telling other people's secrets.
Can be, for sure, for sure. And also the fact that secrets play a role is kind of there, isn't it? It's there. And it's a Mercury that's retrograde. So again, we're seeing that Mercury is doing things differently here, doing things a little not the ordinary Mercury, right? And what is the nature of Mars in the third house? And you mentioned, a few of you mentioned some of these things in terms of communicating with people.
Combative communication.
Combative, right. It's sarcastic, right? It's harsh. It's not easy. It's not sort of like, let's get along kind of energy, is it? This is not, doesn't come naturally to this individual.
Be very sharp-tongued.
Sharp-tongued, yeah.
Cutting, like, ouch.
Yeah, somebody in the comments also mentioned defensive. I have to come back to the chat because there was some really good things there. Femininity, conflicts with her career, for sure.
But she's exposing maybe some things about women's rights or something like that.
Could be, yeah, withholding,
And is
abuse.
being ridiculed by it with the Saturn in the fourth house.
Yeah, you're reading that in the fourth. You could do that. That I would say Saturn in the fourth would be much more about her emotional connection, her ability.
Excuse me, I meant, I
relate.
guess more that the fact that she's saying it, she's being ridiculed.
That certainly is not comfortable, is it, if she's speaking out? It's in a square to Mercury, and the Mercury is retrograde, so it's certainly not comfortable for this individual. Hot, fiery, abrasive, rough emotions against men. This is what I was getting at. Against men. You see, this is a woman that has a difficult time being a woman. Her challenge kind of baked in to her life is that it's difficult being a woman in her life. Right? So we see now Mercury on the south node. Mercury on the south node is challenges with communication, as many of you have already said, and we see that in its extreme because of that Saturn. And this can also be, especially because it's in sixth house, which is about challenges and obstacles and difficulties to overcome. It's about business associates. It's about contracts, employees, relationships with colleagues, and this kind of thing. It also is where we see the scorpionic influence of Mercury on the south node is not really easy. So it's going to take on that scorpionic flavor of secrets and backroom dealings, things that are not super comfortable. They might require force. They might require more masculine energy, as we see also with that Venus. But on the other side of the Mercury, we also have Jupiter, which we can also consider to be conjunct the South Node. And here we see a Jupiter in strong dignity. It's not only in the 7th, but it's in its own sign. So it's angular and it's in its own sign. So Jupiter on the South Node in Indian astrology is considered a warning to women to be careful of issues, of karmic issues with your spouse, issues of difficulties with the spouse. Well, what is her spouse like? If you've got Jupiter in an angular house, ruling the 10th house and in strong, in its own sign, what is the spouse like for this person?
Dominant.
Yeah,
Has
maybe.
affairs.
Sorry?
Has affairs.
And have affairs, yeah. But it's not just that, it's that there's a stature. What is the status of this individual?
Oh, a public person.
It would be somebody of
Yeah.
good stature, right? An important person. It's a Jupiter already in its own sign, Sagittarius. It's a person of status. It's ruling the 10th as well. So it's a famous person. It's a person people recognize, right? It would be, even if it's in your own community, let's say you're not a famous person, but your spouse is known. Your spouse might be like the local doctor or the local lawyer or whatever, you see? So that's a Jupiter, meaning spouse for her. That is a prominent person, could describe it that way, prominent person. So we have that on the South Node, and we see that they're also with the Jupiter from her nature, especially with the Mercury there can be some challenges with people in positions of prominence, not just the spouse, that's the one thing, but challenges in general with those people, or there's a strong influence on their life that is quite karmic. It's also connected to the nodes. So these are karmic things when they're conjunct, not so much the squares. The conjunction, especially, is very karmic. So what would that be like? What does Jupiter also represent?
Teachers.
Sorry, say that again, Georgia.
Teachers.
Teachers, yeah.
Our beliefs, what are
Yeah, beliefs.
Expansion.
Sorry?
Expansion.
Expansion, yeah. Figures. What kind of figures does Jupiter represent in terms of, or you know, the qualities, let's say, of Jupiter?
Influential.
Influential,
religious,
religious.
teachers, gurus. Father
Teachers,
can be the
gurus.
father.
Not necessarily. No, we're looking
Not
more
in this
towards the
case.
sun, Saturn for the father. So
Okay.
Sagittarius is also foreign things, right? Foreigners, foreign things.
Like a dignitary or
Dignitary, could be a
Yeah.
judge, for example, judge, lawyer.
Yeah.
All right, so you're getting my drift here with this. So
Spouse from another country.
it can be, yeah. That's one way, or at the very least, what we could also say is another religion, for example, or another way of being, another life quality.
Could that also be like a clergy person?
Yeah, could be. And this is also South Node stuff, which means that this is something that is an influence that is also to be overcome or to be dealt with in this. There's a karmic thing. So we would see that more clearly if we put the spouse's chart with this person's chart. But this is anyway what this person has to understand in this lifetime, that these things, dealing with these figures, the Jupiterian qualities. And Jupiter also is about what is right, right? Jupiter is about morality, about what is right. And it's with a slightly troublesome ruler of the ascendant on the South Node. And with all of this Mars-led influence, Mars being very influential in that sixth house, really, really difficult stuff, right? It's not super noble, we could say. Samantha, did you want to add something?
Uh, I wanted to ask, because in the beginning of the session, you said that the orb is 3 to 4 degrees. So I got a bit confused because Jupiter is 7 degrees. And why would this one for you?
It's a conjunction. So I was talking about an orb of square earlier. I was talking about an orb of a square. And when you're talking about a conjunction, you want to go much wider, 10, you can even go 12 or 15 degrees, especially for the nodes. The nodal orb can be up to 18 degrees. I don't usually give it 18 degrees. I usually stop at 15. But 18 degrees is where we start to enter into the 18 degrees from the south node is where we start to enter into the eclipse point. So let's say if the sun or moon are 18 degrees from the nodal axis, then we're into a partial eclipse.
And for an opposition, what orb would you use?
Opposition it's similar to a conjunction, so that would be 10 degrees or 5 on either side, for example. The rule is that the tighter, the more influential. So obviously if something is, like in this case, the ascendant ruler, and it's just 2 degrees away, just a little more than, no, what is it? Yeah, 2 and a bit degrees away from the conjunction, that takes precedence over this Jupiter. I'm just adding the Jupiter for part of understanding the quality of her south node impact as well, and how that also influences this whole story of the dynamic around men in her life, right? Because this is part of her dynamic, her struggle.
Thank you.
So always look at the tightness of an orb. Yeah, Jupiter righteousness, that's a good word for Jupiter, especially in Sagittarius. So that tightness of the orb is really what makes you look at it and say, oh, yes, for sure, that's really something that stands out. Now we have another tight orb here, which is a trine from Neptune to the ascendant. So when Neptune is trining the ascendant, in general, we can say not quite the same as when Neptune is on the ascendant or squaring the ascendant, but there's something that is a little bit not clear about the individual. So whenever Neptune and the ascendant are in contact in some way or another, there's something that's not entirely clear. That's all. And then how does that take shape? Well, we have to look for the ruler, and there we go back to the Venus, and we have the same story again, right? So something's not clear, something's not entirely open or not entirely accessible, let's say. Hard to grasp is one way of saying Neptune trining the ascendant. It's hard to grasp. Neptune is also in a trine to the midheaven. So that creates, again, it's an orb of 4+ degrees, but it's still a trine. I give up to 7 degrees. That's the traditional orb. Even 8 degrees, some people say, but I prefer 7. So here we have a really tight trine between the ascendant and Neptune, and then we have a slightly weaker trine, but still important, 4 degrees from Neptune to the midheaven. And the midheaven itself is ruled by
Saturn.
the Saturn, which is not in a good dignity, right?
And that Saturn's also ruling the 8th. So is that something about she's hiding something?
Well, yeah, very good. Exactly this. So there's exactly where you want to understand. This is where this starts to go, you see? We have a house of challenge and difficulty, the energy of secrecy, the energy of things that are a little bit heavy to deal with. It's a lot of personal willpower. This is the 3rd house. Lots of force, lots of willpower, lots of dynamic of having to struggle for a lot of reasons. And then we get to the rulerships, and then we say, oh, well, so we've got Saturn ruling the 8th. We also have Mars ruling the 11th, which is, again, what is that? It's society, right? It's social, it's the stage, it's the public, what do you call it? Yeah, public relations, the networks, and so on. Alrighty. So behind all of this, we have this extremely tender moon. David, did you want to ask a question? Sorry, I just saw that.
Yeah, just that Neptune with the midhaven. I guess there's some projection on her also. She's being projected on by the public.
Absolutely. So that's just like the conjunction. It works both ways. There can be a way of being not so clear. Neptune in the fifth in general can be a really good actor. It's a great thing to have as an actor. The fifth house is about embodying how you express yourself. Dancers, for example, you see a lot of fifth house activity for dancers, embodying how you express yourself. And so that works both ways, would be projected upon as well as, but we have to always consider what is going on in terms of the energy of that. So here we have that Venus that's not in strong dignity. So as a woman, having to constantly go back to this dynamic of the Mars and Sun is part of how she would be perceived as well as how she engages. So both together. All right. So let's come back to, oh yeah, the moon. The moon is ruled by this Jupiter. So again, very strong, but Jupiter in the seventh house has the quality, and you can read that in the sixth as well, depending on what kind of chart you're using, but we're working with the whole sign for now. So Jupiter in the seventh has the quality of trying to please others, right? It's like it's got this dynamic of trying to keep other people happy. So that's part of her balancing act of going through all of this pressure, the struggle, the challenge, and the projection, as David points out. It's a really good point. And then we've got this moon in Pisces, which can be extremely vulnerable, very emotionally vulnerable, very, yeah, again, maybe always we think in terms of the axis of Virgo and Pisces, there's something there to do with martyring and being a martyr or being martyred or being in that dynamic of victim, savior. And there, that's in the 10th house. A moon in the 10th house, think of the moon, wherever the moon is, it waxes and wanes, right? That's the quality of the moon. It's a waxing and waning quality. So it means changeability right there. And its changeability is due to what? It's due to the faith, due to the partner, life partner, or spouse, or whatever you want to, husband, due to other people and the demands of other people and how this person might want to show up for those demands. And when we have the moon in the 10th house, that reflects how the person is sometimes popular, sometimes not, in terms of career, in terms of the reputation, in terms of how they show up in the world. Now, her career can also be seen by the midheaven, and we see that in the 9th house. So her career is also with the Aquarius energy. It makes it even stronger. There's an ideological quality to the career. And there's a strong will and purpose. So these are the political houses, the 9th and the 11th, very political. 10th houses, then the rulership or the leadership or the quality of being known for something. But this is a little bit wobbly when we have a moon involved there. So that means that the people or the reputation or the desire is waxing and waning. And we see that also in terms of the moon in a square to Uranus. There's an unpredictability that this individual shows up in terms of how they show up out in the world. That can also be either a reference to the needs of other people, the partners, business partners, spouse, etc., or with reference to the individual themselves and the way that they feel. Right? And again, we have to keep all the rest of the stuff in consideration. The other thing, as I mentioned earlier, is when you have a lot of Scorpio, and especially whenever you have a stellium, it's just one thing to note. She's got two. This one is the stronger of them because the personal planets are there. A person's life is impacted in intense ways It's not just like things are changing as the person goes through life. It's like da 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 da, things are changing, and this is that, and this is that, and it's all at once. It's super intensive. And this is not just because it's Scorpio, but because it's a stellium. So there's an intensity around all the things that come up. And what is again the flavor of the sixth house?
Nervous,
Say it again.
service,
Obstacle.
to serve or service.
Service, obstacles. It's everything shitty, right? It's the six houses, all the stuff we don't want to do. It's like what I have to do the dishes, don't want to do. I have to pick up the kids, don't want to do that. Have to get up at 6 in the morning, don't want to do that. It's all that sixth house stuff. It's crisis. It's challenge on top of the fact that it's Scorpio, you see? This person is putting out fires practically from the moment they get out of bed, right? This is the nature of this individual's life, just crisis after crisis after crisis. So Elsa, you had a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering about the moon in the 10th house and in Pisces. Is that also, would that also be reason for people to, I mean, for when she spoke out about things, would that also sort of add to why people would dislike her? Because she, or I don't know how to word it.
It's not because it's the moon in Pisces necessarily. It's the moon in the 10th house. So
Yeah.
it'll take on the flavor. But what that really means is that there's no stability. Like if you've got Saturn in the 10th house, you're in for the long haul. You're just going to keep slogging. You're just going to keep moving forward. And it's not to say that this person wouldn't also. Certainly part of her big lesson, but also it's the fact that it's the moon. And so there's waxing and waning reputation, waxing and waning popularity, waxing and waning interest in career, waxing and waning in all of those dynamics that have to do with the moon.
But so she
and
wasn't
emotion.
taken very seriously, I guess. Or
Not necessarily. No, it's more about the relatability. The moon is about
okay.
how we connect emotionally, right? So the
Mhm.
relatability, and that goes both ways. It goes from her as well as to her, right? So there was a question here about the midheaven. Now I just want to come back to that. When the midheaven is not in the 10th, is there a desire to do something in the world that isn't really possible for the person? No. The midheaven is just the midheaven. It's where do I express my vocation, my career, my social status? What is the extra quality? So 10th house is always the 10th house. It's always going to give us the quality of that reputation and my ambition, my overall drive for what I do when I step out the front door, my social status, all that stuff. But the midheaven is how do I do that? Where do I do that? And the focal point here would be the 9th house for her. So 9th house is judiciary, right? It's government. It can be God as well, except that here we see that there would be an issue with all of that stuff. There's also potentially an issue around the judiciary and all of these other things as well. The 9th house also relates to, like I said earlier, politicians as well. It's also the house of the father. So there is definitely an issue here with the father that's there in the individual's life. Miriam, you have a question.
Yeah, Susan, I just was wondering, you said that the third house stellium would reflect defensiveness. And I just wanted to ask, is there a specific combination of planetary impacts there that makes you think of defensiveness exactly?
Oh, well,
other than the Mars.
The Mars-Pluto?
Yeah, is it Mars-Pluto? That was it. I just didn't get that. Okay.
Yeah, and the fact that Saturn is in its detriment. So it's suggesting that there's a lack of esteem, there's a lack of confidence in oneself that actually can produce an arrogance. That's the thing about Saturn in Aries or Saturn in Leo. There's a defensive arrogance. So because there's a lack of confidence, then they end up over exaggerating the self in this case. But it's coming from that emptiness. The other thing about all of this, like especially the Mars-Pluto, is being absolutely unquestioningly right. I am right. Do not question me. Do not contradict me. I am right. And that's especially true because we see this challenge with the Mercury. We see the challenge with the Venus in square to that. And communication with this individual is the big struggle. It's the big challenge that both people have with the individual as well as the individual would have in terms of overall connection with people. All right, so are we ready to find out who this person is? Does anybody want to say anything more about the chart? I just checked the chat.
James says it's him.
Saskia says it's me. What's you?
Oh, Saskia, sorry.
Well,
Hillary Clinton.
I have a stellium of, I'm Gemini rising, stellium of Scorpio in the 6th, my north node in the 3rd house, and 28 degrees Pisces moon.
That's interesting. So how do you experience that?
Well, I don't have the conflict really with the speaking or with authority so much.
Where's your Mercury?
My Mercury's in Scorpio in the
It's also in Scorpio, but not
Yeah.
with the south node.
Yeah, but my north node is in Leo. Yeah, but
Yeah, that's a different dynamic, isn't
Yeah,
it? So
yeah, it's a different
we're especially like this is if we took away all the other stuff, this is still problematic for communication. You see the south node Mercury thing, especially that it's a Mercury in a Mars ruled sign and that it's also in the 6th house and that it's a Mercury retrograding. You see, so we see subtracting everything else, we say, this person, although they want to show up as friendly, they want to show up as social, they want to show up as likable, but nobody likes them. Well, and that's of course an exact meaning. It's difficult for people to trust them. That's maybe what that is. It's more, I can't trust this person. They show up like this, not entirely sure that I can be sure who this person is, and I'm not sure that I trust them. You see, so all of these different indicators. So somebody said it was Hillary Clinton, and it's absolutely Hillary Clinton. So just to show you how all of these things can show up in a person's experience, and you see their side of the coin, how they're grappling with everything, how they're trying to deal with everything and push through, and how people then resonate with them as well.